boy. Alright, so I'm just as confused as I was before. I pushed it in, it went all the way up, and I felt like I should turn it or something, and it clicked. I don't know if it clicked and like fell into place or if it broke, so we're gonna throw some coolant in it. Keep our fingers crossed. Sound like it wasn't a break, it was more of a click, like it clicked into place maybe. So we'll hook the intercooler back up, remount it, put everything back together, and top it off with coolant and see what we got. I don't know, we're about to find out. Alright, so on the BMWs, you have a reservoir which is right here, this deal. And so when you top your reservoir off, you'll see this thing, this little valve stick up. So what you'll want to do as you're filling it up, there's a bleeder valve right here, a little, just coming towards you from this on the camera. Right here, it's a little four-way, like a Phillips, I guess you'd call it. So it's a Phillips head. You can use a flat screwdriver, whatever, but you top this reservoir off with that open. You'll let some pressure out, and you'll top everything off. So you'll see the stick coming out of there. And you may see some actually come out of this the four-way thing. The bleeder, that's your bleeder for the coolant. And so what you'll do, is how you'll see some come out there. So you'll get it to come out. After all the air is out and it's actual fluid coming out. You may want to wait a second before you completely let it all drain off, because if it's been completely empty, you'll have air draw, like pull in, and it'll bubble some of the coolant further down in there. So it'll let some air out from deeper down inside the coolant system, and it will actually drain. But all we're not getting any air, we're just getting straight coolant. So now what you'll want to do is you'll take your cap, put it on. Okay, now you will actually get in the car, turn the ignition to where you don't want to actually push, so you'll get in it and you'll hit the push button where it powers everything up. You'll put your key in and hit the push button start, but not with the clutch in. On the automatics, I'm not sure if you have to hold the brake in or whatever, but you put it to where your heat settings, both heat settings, your driver and passenger side, is all the way maxed out, and turn your fan on the lowest setting. And so you'll not hit the clutch, so you'll hit the button, you'll put key in, hit the button, everything powered up, and the heat settings on high, both sides, the fan on low, and hold the pedal down for 12 seconds. This being a electric fuel or a water pump, for like 12 minutes, it will cycle through and pressurize all the system to get all the bubbles out. So that's how you bleed that system off. Okay, so once that's done, it'll finish on its own. But once it's done, you can open the cap and see if you need to add a little bit more coolant. That's generally the process of bleeding the coolant on these things. So I've done it a few times now, trying to figure this plug out. So hopefully this thing will work, so as I actually put coolant into this time instead of distilled water. So, all right, I'm gonna go through that process, get it priming and everything, and we'll check with it and see if I need to add any coolant, then we'll crank it if everything's good. All right, so I got that process started, and you'll be able to hear it as it kicks off and on. I don't know if you can hear that on camera. But that's pressurizing the coolant, so that way it'll push out any air bubbles and all that, so it pretty much primes itself and gets all the air out. And once it's done, you'll check your cap over here, and you'll see if you need to add any more coolant. Alright, it's come up to temperature. I'm going to let the the engine warm up a little bit more, build some pressure. I can throttle it up a little bit now that it's warmed up, but I do want the coolant to circulate a time or two, build some decent pressure before I try to leave in it or drive it or anything. So everything seems to be okay. It's not leaking anywhere from the stuff I've changed. I got some condensation out of the exhaust, but I've learned if you have a garage and you're on concrete a lot of times and you have a car in the garage, especially if it's been ran or if it was hot when it was in here, you'll get condensation in the exhaust. So that's a common thing. So if you see maybe some condensation come out, I am going to rev it up a little bit since I changed everything in the exhaust. It's got the MHD tune on it, the stage 1. I've got the CATLESS down pipes, the ARM intercooler, the solid, with the ARM I've got the actual charge pipes, the ones that come with it, like the boots or whatever on both sides, the upgraded charge pipes with it, and I've got the hard pipe with the blow-off valve, just an eBay knockoff one of those, but we'll get a sound. And I do have the burbles engaged so you can rev it up and get them, but let's throttle it up and see what it sounds like now. So keep in mind too that I still have from the ends of the actual CATLESS down pipes, it's all factory exhaust past that. So everything from the back of the Cats out is still factory exhaust. Haven't changed any of that. Doesn't have anything, no turbo upgrades, no I guess it's the intake pipes or whatever, the plastic ones. I don't have that upgraded. It's the actual charge pipe, the ARM with the upgraded boots, and the MHD stage 1, and that's pretty much it I think now. So again, it's a eBay charge pipe and blow-off valve with the heavier spring in it. I don't know which spring it takes. I'm debating on buying an actual name brand like HKS, actual legit HKS blow-off valve. I don't think those have an option for a spring. I think they pretty much govern themselves. So I may end up doing that because I don't really know what it takes or what the best spring is for it. But I'm gonna let this thing come up to temperature, and I'll probably go for a drive and see if the stage 1, which that's what I was on before I got the down pipes and the intercooler, and I want to see how much difference it made on just changing the parts out without upping the tune. So that's what I'm curious of, how much actually I gained just right there. And then once I get my plugs, my spark plugs and stuff, and I may do the low pressure fuel pump, and then we'll see what going up from there does. But I think I can do the stage 2 plus on 93 without doing the low pressure fuel pump. I need to check into that, but I'll be for certain, you know, if I do. I do have like a Walbro 525 or 450 or something here, and that'll work. I just have to have the housing, change everything out, and go from there. So I think it's a little bit of a deal to change them over, or it's expensive and you buy like a prefab, you know, instead of doing a DIY with your own pump and change it over. There's some work that's got to be involved, but we'll see what the demands are as far as fuel, and make sure this thing doesn't run lean or anything before we up the stuff. And we need to get the color spark plugs for sure when we go up. I do know that. So starting to build a little pressure. So far so good. I don't want to press my luck and hope, you know, hope it holds. We're going to keep an eye out on it for a little while before I decide to drive it, just to make sure. I don't want to get out on the road and it blow out and have to try to get it back. I don't have my rollback with me today, so I'd have to go home and leave it sitting for a while. So we'll go for a drive here shortly if it holds together. If not, we'll be back working on it. Alright, so we're going to take the factory hose and get some brake cleaner and clean it out. Let's get the debris out of it. Let's make sure there's none of that nastiness in there. Let it dry. The original reservoir, I have to clean it out. So you can see all the grime in there. It'll take a little more. I'm going to clean it for a minute to get all that stuff out, but that's the idea. You got to clean that stuff. Alright, so we got the BMW finally running. We're going to take it for a ride and see how it sounds. This is our first voyage with the CATLESS down pipes, and what else we got? The CATLESS down pipes, the ARM intercooler with the upgraded piping that comes with them, and a hardened one of the aluminum charge pipes with the eBay blow-off valve, and MHD Stage 1. This isn't the 1 Plus or any of that. This is just the Stage 1. So we're gonna do a, oh, I was thinking of the G35, the reverse is in a different spot. Alright, so we'll see what we got here. That's a little more saucy. Definitely a little more spicy than just the without the cats. And like I say, I had been running on the Stage 1 and I hadn't changed anything. We're still on the Stage 1 with the down pipes and stuff. So we'll see what we get right here. Spicy for sure. Alright, let's we're gonna turn the traction control off. Felt like it might have been hindering us just a hair. Oh yeah, she's a ripper now. Hope that ain't the police. If that's police, he gonna be, that ain't the police, that's just some old thug. Yeah, oh yeah, this thing's way quicker than what it was, that's for sure. That's the police. Alright, so. Yeah. She's a spicy girl. Yeah, she's definitely a lot spicier than she was. And like I say, we're still on the Stage 1 with just the CATLESS downpipes and stuff. We haven't went to, and I'm sorry about the camera angle, that's all I can do at the moment. We haven't stepped up the MHD to a higher level just yet, so we will actually get down here somewhere and I will flash the Stage 2 and we'll see what she's doing there. I have noticed though, like if I'm just cruising at an idle speed or just a steady speed, I do get like almost seems like a miss, but that's the only time I get it is when I'm cruising at just a casual speed with no acceleration, no deceleration, just a cruising speed. I'm tending to get like maybe a little bit of a miss. So I don't know if that's due to the burbles. I feel like the burbles are relevant to that, where it's trying to do something to cause it to have that, you know, the burble sound. So it's kind of allowing it to have that hesitation miss at a cruise speed because it don't know whether it's wanting to, you know, whatever it does to do the burble, or if it's just wanting to needs fuel or needs to let off fuel, I guess. But at a cruise speed, it doesn't feel right. And it only started doing that once I started doing the flashing and all that. This car didn't have any issues as far as anything like that. Oh yeah, she's a spicy girl now, that's for sure. But we'll go up to the Stage. I really don't want to go up until I get some plugs in it. Yeah, we may not go up in the tune until I change the spark plugs, so that may be all we get right now. But did the down pipes, CATLESS down pipes, and the tune, or not the tune, the intercooler help? Oh yeah, you can definitely tell that it did something here. So alright, so it almost felt like it might have been slipping the clutch a little bit, but again, BMWs are a little awkward to drive. I've noticed this one does a little different than what the G35 and 350Zs do. It's like the idle doesn't fall off as fast, so it does feel a little different as far as acceleration and stuff. But overall, yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed by just these bolt-ons. So it feels pretty good. Let's go for a ride here. Yeah, she's pretty saucy, for sure. And I was short shifting quite a bit. It's a little louder than what I was used to, so I'm not really looking at the RPMs, but I believe I am short shifting just a hair. So that camera, sorry about the angle, I do apologize, but this thing's, I need some different camera gear and all that, but this is what I've got. But so far it's a little spicy. She's a spicy girl. And I don't know how much wind noise you're gonna get, but well, there's a train right now, but you can't hear the burbles or none of that, like real loud. The blow-off valve you can hear sometimes you're not hearing it. There it is. Yeah, she's blowing off. She's making the racket. But again, that's a cheap eBay blow-off valve. I don't know if it translates to the camera okay. I know there's a lot of wind. I do have the air filter that you don't hear as much wind on the camera, but it is what it is. Yeah, so I mean, definitely faster. Pulls harder. You can hear the blow-off valve really well to be a cheap one. You can hear the turbo spooling up a lot better. Definitely an improvement from where it was at, and it was no slouch before. I mean, it was no, you know, it was a force to be reckoned with just off of the Stage 1 with no upgrades, with, you know, just turning the MHD on. It really brought this car alive. Yeah, it really made a difference, for sure. Yeah, if this thing was rear wheel drive, it would be crazy. she makes a little racket for sure. I need over. I need over there. Yeah, but she's definitely a noisemaker. Alright, so overall, I feel like it's pretty strong car. It's worth all the hype, I feel like. And you know, I couldn't resist. I went to the Stage 2 Plus. I had my son with me, and he was on break at work, so I had him take my camera off the window, and he broke the little mount, the suction cup mount. So anyway, we went for a ride. I just spur of the moment pulled over, went to the 2 Plus, and drove it like I stole it, and it acted like, at the first pull, it almost acted like it slipped the clutch a little bit, enough to lose a little power through it. It didn't slip so bad that you had a bunch of RPM jump without acceleration, you know. So you know how when a clutch slips, it'll rev up, but it won't actually get any faster. It did that some, not crazy, but you could tell it wasn't, the clutch and the RPMs weren't matching up, so it wasn't pulling as strong as what it felt like it should be. So it did that the first pull, and then we ran it a little more, let it cool, and did a little easier pull out of third gear. Not quite as just straight to the floor, but accelerate into it and then add fuel, and just eventually get all the way into it once we start pulling a little bit. And it didn't feel like it slipped at that time, and so it actually felt pretty good the second time. It's definitely faster in the Stage 2 Plus, but I'm not going to run that. I went back to the 1 Plus, and so I will run that, I think, and until I get the spark plugs changed. And yeah, I see what all the hype's about. It's definitely impressive, but from Stage 1 to Stage 2 Plus, I can't tell how extreme of a jump it is. I feel like it's a pretty solid jump and more power, but I felt like it was trying to push through the clutch. So I think that's going to create some issues with the car, and so I'm going to wait till I change the spark plugs and all that to really get into that. But I definitely think the clutch will come into play at this point. The factory OEM clutch, I don't know what it's supposed to hold. This being all-wheel drive, it's got more stuff pulling at it and more to move. It may be a little more of a stronger clutch than your standard 335Is. I don't know if it's any different, maybe exactly the same, but I feel like if somebody really went to the 2 Plus and just beat on this car on a regular basis, I feel like you would be putting a clutch in it pretty quick, I think. So I'm going to go with the Stage 1 Plus. I hadn't made any pulls with it yet. I just went, when I come out of the 2 Plus, I went to the 1 Plus, and I hadn't done any pulls. But yeah, this car is pretty stout. Now it's definitely definitely stronger than your average just little tuner car that you're going to buy from a buddy and slap, you know, some components on it and try to crank it up. It's definitely faster than your average car you can just grab and crank up, for sure. So it's pretty impressive, to say the least. I mean, it's actually really impressive. Yeah, so would I suggest this car and go this route? I still haven't made up my mind yet, because this thing was a pain to get back together and to get all the this BMW in general. I don't know whether it's this particular car, but it's like a Volkswagen with all the little clips and the little push connectors and all the different stuff. Like, I'm used to, you know, a bunch of Hondas and Fords and Chevrolets and, you know, Acura stuff where you got a hose, you squeeze clamp, slide it off, you know, replace the hose, put another squeeze clamp on it, whatever. This got a bunch of clips. The price for the parts is really up there. And so I've not even began to run into the fuel pump issues that you're, you know, supposed to be notorious for this. I've already had some water leaks. that I've had to remedy. A few things that were issues that made this take a little longer, as far as accessibility of parts and that type of stuff. But you know, that comes with when you start cranking them up. If I'd have drove it every day without doing anything, it may never had a problem. I don't believe that though, but I think this thing already had a coolant leak. But with that, all the plastic shielding underneath, you couldn't tell where it was at or none of that. But I think day one when I got this car, it had a coolant leak somewhere. So I did replace the reservoir and that hose that comes off the bottom of it. And the top one leaked for a minute or two, but I kind of fooled with it. Maybe I didn't have it clipped on very well, but that went away. Overall, I mean, it's not a bad car. It seems okay. I bought it to daily drive it. I got into all this, and it's already went further than it should have, because you know how that goes. But I think I'm content right here, right now, with where it's at. If I do go to the 2 Plus, I'll just go to 93 and I'll run the colder 2-step colder plugs. And well, I guess I plan on a clutch then. I don't know what I'm doing with the car. I need something to drive every day, and I should have bought a dadgum Daewoo with a 3-cylinder and automatic, been done with it, because I knew I'd turn something up if I bought something like this. Being a car guy, man, sometimes it's rough on your wallet. It is an addiction. But all right, that's our video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. We got a lot of things changed around on the BMW. We worked on the G35 a little bit. I've got all that ready to finish pulling out the factory slave cylinder and stuff. I'm ready to pull it all out and install all the new stuff. I have everything in hand to change all that. So I may come back to the shop tomorrow and do that. But it's been a fairly productive day as far as getting this car finished up and the parts to finish the G35. Overall, not too bad of a day. I like days like this. And yeah. So if you want to email us or anything, it's chesserenterprises@yahoo.com. We're now selling merch on eBay. Chesser Motorsports is the name we're using on there. The Chesser Drifting merch is there. The lanyards, the wristbands, the decals, all that stuff is there on eBay. You can contact us directly if you want to buy from us directly. You can. If you're local, we can meet you somewhere or something like that. Chesser Drifting on Instagram, Chesser Motorsports on Facebook. And on the Facebook and Instagram, we're a little more up to speed on what we're actually working on. We are behind on the videos, which again, I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that, because there's days I don't have a chance to shoot anything, or if I'm, you know, working on a rental or something, I don't have a chance to really get anything except for just throwing some paint on the walls, you know, that type of thing. But today we got to drive the BMW and got a little car footage. We may try to get some exterior shots or something. It's hard to do all this by myself, and I can't throw my camera outside the window and run up down the road here, and it's kind of hard to do sometimes. But all right, appreciate you watching the video. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everything.